Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday. It's during the Christmas holiday. This weekend is New Year's Eve, this Friday, actually. And but we're here working away. We've got a couple great shows planned this week. Today, obviously, the Blueprint Power Hour, where we answer your questions about training, nutrition, supplementation, drugs, sex, everything and anything. Nothing is off topic. And then tomorrow we have a show about intimacy and relationships. Yeah, I'm going to be like Steve Harvey. I'm going to start becoming the relationship guru. So that should be good with Dr. Erica Schwartz. Her new book is about intimacy, and we can all use more of that. Before we get started, of course, I have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods, the makers of the Tasty Pastry, which are in abundant stock. For those of you who were pissed off that they couldn't ship orders fast enough a couple months ago. These have taken the world by storm. And I'm saying that sincerely. People in other countries are clamoring and wanting to know, when will we get the Legendary Foods Tasty Pastry here in our country? And the folks at Legendary are working night and day to make that happen. If you haven't tried one, you should. The Tasty Pastry started out to be a Pop-Tart alternative, and it's become so much more. You will swear you're eating garbage. You will swear you're eating junk, the kind of stuff we've been eating during the Christmas holiday that makes us feel horrible the next day. But this won't, because it's got less than 1 gram of sugar, and it has 20 grams of high-quality, high-leucine protein. The flavors are amazing. For those of you who are low-carb or keto people, 4 to 5 net carbs per pastry. The biggest problem you're going to have with the Tasty Pastry is keeping them away from your children. They will eat them all in a day. It's not a terrible thing because at least they're eating something that's good for them. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10. Save 10% off. You will thank me. I promise you. Now, without further delay, get my graphics on screen here and play his theme music.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Most of you will notice something different about today's show. Coach Rob has a good microphone, and we tested it this morning, and it sounds fantastic. I'd love feedback from those of you out there in the world who are telling us for the past several shows, I can't hear him. We'd love to hear from you today and confirm that you can hear him. How you doing, Coach?
I am doing fantastic, and I can certainly confirm the Tasty Pastry, what you just said about them. My son got a whole caseload of them, right? I think it's 10 or 12 for Christmas, and I can assure you he's eating more than one a day. But what a great lesson to teach a 16-year-old kid, right? You know, in order to eat healthy, you don't have to eat things that taste like cardboard. He loves them. And I'm getting him I got him a new flavor, I got him the cookies and cream. I think he has the hot fudge sundae.
Yeah, they're all delicious. Yeah, I love the blueberry. I mean, they're supposed to be coming out with an apple turnover flavored one per my request. I'm hoping that comes out soon. You won't, everyone. Oh, look at this. We have our first responder. Horn Frog says Rob is loud and clear. Yes. See what the
Excellent.
difference a good microphone makes? I know. Everybody thought I was crazy. I knew it. Thank
It
you.
only took 12 years.
To get a good mic and headset.
God.
But yeah, the tasty pastry is unbelievable. And if you haven't tried them, you're really missing out. So what's going on with you, Coach?
Well, last time we were here, I promised a big announcement, and I'm a man of my word. So the announcement is this. We are running, effective immediately, our once a year super special. It is on. And when I say once a year, I really mean once a year. You can go back and listen to the shows. This is not something that's going to come around again. So I'm really hoping people will take advantage. What we've done is to show everyone the value, right, of the information that we put together in the bulletin. We're offering new subscribers as an enticement to see this 3 months for $10. It doesn't get much cheaper than that. And on top of that, we have decided to open the entire library, and which is well over 112 issues now, believe it or not, covering over 400 topics, most of which I just don't discuss here, right? I got to save something special, and rightfully so, for my subscribers. So, I've been talking about this for many years, and information is your most powerful weapon. If you like this show, you will love the bulletin and the things that you learn in it. Things like most have not heard of the anti-creatine and what it can do for you. You'll read all about that, plus where to find it. The topic of anabolic resistance, why it occurs, and how to overcome it. Game changer, especially if you're over 30. I'll also show you a certain easily obtained asthma medication that, when combined with another certain over-the-counter supplement, added 17 pounds of muscle in 14 weeks in one study. And no, I'm not talking about clenbuterol. And then finally, amongst many other things, you're going to learn about the COVID meds that nobody's talking about. This is not ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, or any of that. Yet these very medications are saving lives every day. So those are just 4 of 400 things that await you, plus new issue every 30 days. And right now, on top of all that, what we've decided to do is give access to what is known as the ultimate blueprint. Essentially, everything that I've ever written concerning training, diet, and there's even some in there on supplementation, that includes the original blueprint, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and a lot more. So right now, today, go to CoachRobRegish.com. We just put it up on the website. It is live. You can get yourself a free sample issue just to see what it's all about. Make your own decision. And we are confident that you will agree it is the best deal we've ever offered and the best information that you've ever seen. Bottom line.
Hey, there's a lot of stuff that Rob talks about in the written newsletter that we can't talk about here, because a lot of this stuff is kind of like underground type stuff, and so it's more than valued at what he's offering. I mean, it really is, and people are so used to getting information for free. But I just did a post on Facebook. Where you get your information from is the new evolutionary selection pressure, whether or not you're going to have a good life or a bad life.
I saw that. That was a very interesting post.
And what you get for free is worth nothing. It really isn't.
Pretty much.
When you think about it, because otherwise people would charge for it. That's really the truth.
Right.
So.
Right.
Henry
Yeah.
Kopek
Sure. Go ahead.
says, can you tell me how to use L-arginine? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading it from the note. Can you tell me how to use L-arginine? I have a big bottle of it for Christmas, 300 grams, and was told it would be useful in putting on mass. How much will it boost GH?
Yeah. Well, look, the honest truth is that arginine, it has its uses, but in no way does it quote unquote add mass the way, for example, greater calorie intake will, or training more consistently for that matter. It just isn't that type of product with that kind of horsepower. Now, in the mid 1980s, mid to early 80s, the sports nutrition world was a buzz about this stuff, about how it could increase growth hormone. And that was primarily due to the efforts of Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw in their book Life Extension. And later they went on to found the Life Extension Foundation, which we know does a lot of fantastic work. To a lesser extent, the now defunct bulk powder supplier Beyond a Century, they were the first ones to make, bulk amounts economical. You could actually use the gram amounts that were being written about to see, what it did for you. All that glowing evidence for GH release had one thing in common, though. Massive amounts were given intravenously. The products on the shelves, however, as we know, are all orals, or most of them.
And they just give you diarrhea when you take them in large doses.
Right. As many of us found out the hard way, right? I mean, this was an expensive experiment back in the day that didn't do much other than, made you wish you bought Charmin that week at the grocery store. Look, the problem with arginine is this: you need massive amounts, in most cases 10 to 30 grams on an empty stomach to get any effect. Take it from somebody who knows. It tastes like battery acid. It gives you the runs, and it's going to leave you wishing that you bought the good stuff at the grocery store. The alkaline taste, by the way, is so bad that Beyond a Century sold a companion product called Yuck Away, which was a really acidic lemon lime something or other you were supposed to mix with it. And it was more yuck than away, and it didn't really work. So that should tell you how bad arginine really is. Almost all available research has been done on 6 to 10 gram oral doses using arginine. Almost all of it agrees. There's no noticeable improvement to performance. When consumed prior to resistance training, it didn't significantly change levels of growth hormone, ghrelin, or insulin-like growth factor 1. Now,
I would like to just inject something here.
Sure. No pun intended.
Well, yeah, no pun intended. My 2 cc's. The reason it doesn't work to raise growth hormone is because it suppresses somatostatin.
Right.
That's all it does. Somatostatin is the brake. Growth hormone releasing hormone is the gas pedal. The car only moves when you remove your foot from the brake and step on the gas pedal at the same time. If you remove your foot from the brake and you don't step on the gas pedal, the car stands still. So by removing somatostatin, but not increasing the pulse of growth hormone releasing hormone, there's no growth hormone, no increase. That's it.
Yeah, and that was going to be really my next point about what it does do with somatostatin. But so the question becomes, what is it good for? You will find some evidence that nitric oxide levels rise. But the fact of the matter is things like L-citrulline or beetroot powder do it a lot better. Agmatine, there are a couple others. And those things are much easier on the stomach and usually at only a slightly higher price point. Since you've got a bottle, though, let's try to find a use for it. There was one study I found, granted it was looking at endurance athletes, but also MMA people, found that combining branched chain aminos, L-arginine, and citrulline improved performance in competitions where consecutive days of training or competition was the norm. Personally, I think the citrulline and the BCAAs are contributing the most to that combination. But the co-administration of arginine, I suppose, couldn't hurt. One final note, high doses of arginine can also cause herpes outbreaks. So it pays, I think, to have some lysine on hand to counteract that, as well as some of the other stuff that you put on it. And it only happened to me once, and it's more of a cosmetic issue than health as far as I'm concerned. But it went away easy enough. But that's the deal on arginine. Wish it was a better anabolic or growth hormone releaser, but it's not.
Let's see. We have a question from a live listener. Mike Bear says, I was just literally thinking of Superhuman Radio last night. Carl, you posted something interesting yesterday about diabetes and the virus. Thanks for the info. So what I posted was related to a series of studies we've talked about on this show over the years. And if you connect the dots, the single greatest predictor of severity of symptoms and or whether or not you will die from this virus is not the vaccine. It's blood sugar levels. And we talked about this on the show. We actually we did a specific show a few months ago where the group of scientists monitored people entering the emergency room with COVID. And they took their blood sugar upon entering the emergency room, and they continued to check their blood sugar during the entire stay in the hospital. Those who showed up with mild symptoms but had the highest blood sugar levels had the most rapid increase in symptom severity and
Mortality.
died.
Yeah.
So what this means is if you're diabetic or if you're an obese person who doesn't know they're diabetic or pre-diabetic because you don't want to know, you are the one that's at risk of dying from this virus, whether you've gotten a vaccine or not. But nobody wants to talk about this because everybody wants to push this vaccine on you. By the way, which Joe Biden just admitted yesterday that the government can't control the virus after all. They've gotten everybody vaccinated, double vaccinated, boosted, triple boosted, and everybody's still getting sick. The COVID rates are going through the roof again. We have new variants, which, by the way, there's a study that when you look at the numbers, it shows that only the vaccinated get the Omicron. Think about that. So if you want to save your own life and you're a borderline diabetic, you have uncontrolled blood sugar, buy some alpha lipoic acid, maybe even have your doctor prescribe metformin. There's a study out there that shows that diabetics on metformin do better when they get this virus.
I had this exact thought because I got into it with a relative on Christmas. Not really, but I started to, about the whole vaccine thing. He says, "What do which vaccine do you have?" I said, "None of them." And he started what it is, the knee-jerk reaction, hissy fit, temper tantrum. And he's talking about how important it is to be vaccinated, how happy he is to be vaccinated. And I swear to you, I had this thought. He's obese. He almost certainly has disorders of blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And why not address those two issues instead of...
Because the government hasn't told them that's important, because these are non-critical thinking people we're dealing with. And I'm going to say something. I said this to Elisa, and she said, "Don't say that. That's not nice." But all these people who are getting vaccinated are having problems, some problem. Their health is declining, but they don't put two and two together. I was just talking to my friend Brian, told me about a surgeon. He's been a surgeon for 20 years out in California, got the vaccine. He can't do surgery anymore because he's got the shakes all the time. He told me about his brother-in-law, got the vaccine, has pain in his chest constantly. I said to him, he needs to go to a doctor, make sure it's not heart-related. We don't hear nothing about this. All we hear about is, the unvaccinated are killing us. The unvaccinated are killing us. Here's my prediction. A lot of people's lives are going to be shortened from this vaccine. And I say good. I say good. Because that's going to thin the herd of fucking stupid people. Now, hate me for saying it, but it's the truth if you remove emotion. This virus, if this virus ran its course, it would have culled the human herd of the weak and sick. The vaccine's doing it now.
Yeah, and I concur 100%. It's just it's high time we ditch political correctness and start talking straight. You know why? Because people are dying.
And keep in mind that just this week, a study was released suggesting that doctors not ask or weigh their patients any longer because of the stress it causes on them to have to talk about their overweightness. And that stress is not good for you. So we can't even talk about it anymore. Do you know the country of Singapore conquered childhood obesity in 2 years? You know how? They started fat shaming children.
And imagine how much that saved in healthcare
But
costs. My God.
Americans are so delicate today. They can't. Words hurt. Words hurt. So we can't talk about fat people anymore as they're being fat. We have to ignore the 500-pound person in the room now. Look, I was 330 pounds. I was a fat person. I was fat. I hated it. I didn't love it. I didn't go, oh, don't shame me. This is my body. No, I hated it. I thought, this sucks. I don't want to be fat anymore. And the truth is, every fat person out there feels that deep down inside. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying to force us to accept the fact that they're fat when they are.
Should be a great motivator. Why it isn't, I never understood. I never understood. If I was that size, I would be doing something about it yesterday.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for that. Sorry for that rant. Okay. The next question comes from Phil Barry. He says, is training to failure really necessary? If so, can I stimulate growth and reach total muscular failure in just one set, like Mike Menzer said?
A really interesting question, right? I mean, this is something that it needs to be addressed. It almost never is. But the short answer is no. Training to failure is not the sole requirement, let's say, or the only way, or even the best way, I think, to stimulate growth. Nor can you reach total muscular failure in just one set, which, a lot of people are saying, well, wait a minute. Yes, you can. You just keep going until you can't perform another rep in good form. What confuses people is that training to failure can be productive for short periods of time. But even then, most people aren't training to true muscular failure. Mm-hmm. Here's why. First things first, training to failure, like I said, isn't what's required to stimulate muscle growth. Overload is. And overload can be achieved by everything from upping your 1 rep max to increasing levels of total tonnage. And when people train to failure, though, they're usually talking about performing that one all-out set until they can't go any further. That's not failure. It's not even close. Far from exhausting the muscle. And proof of that is that using the same weight, they can still perform several partial reps in the strongest range of motion. And at that point, they can still keep going if they put the weight in the strongest concentric position and hold it statically. But hold on, there's still another level of strength that's still there that can be tapped. You can lower that weight under control, right? The negative. Not only that weight, but oftentimes a weight that's up to 40% heavier. And when you can no longer control that negative, that is when you have reached total muscular failure. Needless to say, not many people reach that point, largely because it's not just a physical thing. You need to train your mind to push your body to those extremes. That's not just I'm going to do that today. That's I need to do this and practice for a good 2-3 weeks, sometimes more, before I'm really able to do this. So, training to failure, it's going to work for some. For a short time, the body will adapt to the new stimulus and many people will get stronger. You almost always get a lot stronger than bigger, by the way. And most of it is, that's a real head scratcher to people. It was to me. I trained under Menzer, or at least consulted with him. And so the truth is, the strength gains are largely a function of a more efficient central nervous system, not necessarily new muscle growth. It would be great if that was the case. And some people will grow, but it always lags strength gains, and it always seems to be a tremendous lesser amount, let's say. Paradoxically, while you're getting that much stronger, you're going to find that your work capacity decreases dramatically. As in, when you go back to multi-set training, it's like wearing a weight vest in the deep end of the pool. You're going to suffer, and you're going to suffer real bad. You're only going to be able to do 1, 2 sets, maybe 3 in some people. For my money, to grow, it's much better to train a rep or 2 shy of failure and trying to maximize 2 things, both your 1 rep max strength with, let's say, loading patterns and total tonnage on the other end, with whatever method you prefer. So in other words, if you move 5,000 pounds per minute last leg workout and this week you move 5,500, you will have stimulated muscle growth, right? But you do it, think about it, you do it without frying your adrenals, and you get to max out a 1 rep max simultaneously. And so those are things that they're not mysteries, although they're not widely written about and discussed. So the final point I'll make is if you're dead set on trying some form of HIIT, high intensity training, at least put a limit of, let's say, 6 weeks or so on it. You will get something out of it, but hopefully avoid the dreaded central nervous system burnout. And the wall that you will hit eventually is a brick like this. And you will be stunned because you will be making all these fantastic strength gains for weeks, maybe even months. But man, I'm telling you, you're going to walk in there expecting to lift more one day, and you are going to get slammed. And the reason why is it doesn't work forever. You need other methods.
So you know who discovered this and talked about it years ago? Tom Platz. If you've ever watched Tom Platz, he didn't do this often, but once in a while, he would go to failure on leg extension.
Yep.
Tom didn't believe that failure was an inability to execute the move with strict form. He believed that form eroded as failure started. And so he would do leg extensions.
He's right. He's absolutely right.
And then when form started to fail, he kept going. Maybe he was just doing 2/3, then a quarter. And then he would try to get it up and then hold it there and let it down slow. That is failure. See, we've made failure achievable for everybody. Once your form breaks down, once you can execute that rep precisely, then that's adequate. No, it's not. Failure means you're fighting for your life and you're about to die. That's what it means. And you move into the movement that way. Everything you got, if you can only move it an inch or two, you keep doing it. You keep doing it for as many reps as you can until you can't do anything. Now you failed.
Yeah. And like I said, that is as much a mental game as it is physical, because truly to push your body further, you need to condition your mind. The Navy SEALs have discovered that when people are physically done, or they think they are, and when they quote unquote collapse, they still have about 60% left in the tank. And those are the Navy SEALs. They would know. They've been doing this a long time, and they are the standard bearers when it comes to pushing the body beyond its limits with the mind. So think about it. There's that much untapped potential. You just got to go out and get it.
But I'll tell you this, if you want to adopt this, you think, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try it with leg extensions. I'm going to try it with shoulder presses. I'm going to try it with some other movement. Don't try it with bench presses because you don't want to get stapled to the bench. Only do it once every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, but that's the other end of this stick, so to speak. You can work out that intensely, but for the same reason that nobody sprints a mile, you're not going to be able to do it very often or very long. So count on a lot less frequent gym visits, or at least a lot less frequent true train to failure sessions.
So Horned Frog said what I said earlier, my little rant about we'll get rid of all the stupid people. He said, I sound like Scrooge in the Christmas Carol movie where he said, reduce the surplus population. I don't want to reduce the surplus population. I want to reduce the parasites, those who don't even try to make a go of their lives. They just want to suck off of everybody else. They want to eat, become fat, knowing that they're going to be fat, and become ill, knowing they're going to become ill because they just figure someone else will carry their load.
That's lots of people. That's a significant chunk of our population.
It's a large population, yes.
Yeah.
When the Black Plague went through Europe and literally killed tens of millions of people worldwide, I think maybe close to 190 million people died worldwide, which was a significant portion of the population back then. Okay?
Right.
We had a renaissance happen right after that because all of these resources were now available to people who, and let me back up. The majority of people who died during the Black Plague lived in the cities in squalor. They lived in, 16, 20 people to a room. They crapped in the street right up the way from where they got water from. Those are all the people that died.
Like San Francisco now?
Yeah, exactly. Like San Francisco. Yeah. Thank you for putting it in perspective.
Yeah.
So, you have to realize that even in animal populations, in deer populations, there's a thinning of the herd. There's infections that go through. They kill the weakest, oldest deer. Then there's a renaissance because these young deer now have more access to acorns and females to mate with. So there's always a renaissance after this big die-off. We're not having it right now, but I predict it's going to happen over the next 6 to 7 years because of this vaccine. Watch.
And you're not the only one that's been talking about this. Some of the richest, most powerful people in the world have come to the conclusion that we need to clean house. And whether or not they're behind this or have other plans, we're not sure. But we do know for sure they've given very public speeches and talks about this and have taken steps themselves to get the hell out of here before we implode.
Do you know there's a rumor that sperm banks are looking for unvaccinated men to donate sperm? Why are they doing that?
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Because women are going to want, when all the poop hits the fan over the next years, women are going to want, and one of the things he has a high IQ and blah, blah, blah. And he was 6 foot tall, blah, blah, blah. And he's unvaccinated. Oh, yeah, right. We got that. Right. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll get right back to your questions. You're watching the Blueprint Power Hour. Stay tuned.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Microbes make up your immune system. That's why I'm really excited about P3OM. P3OM is a patented probiotic that might be the most effective probiotic ever developed. P3OM fights bad bacteria and strengthens immunity. Basically a germ-fighting superhero. But it also helps digestion, speeds up metabolism, and increases energy throughout the day. That's way more than I thought a probiotic could do. And just when I thought P3OM couldn't get any more powerful, I watched a video that you can find at shrnetwork.biz/P3-OM of this probiotic literally breaking down a piece of steak. After I saw that, I was all in. Here's some more awesome news. You can get 10% off P3OM right now by going to shrnetwork.biz/P3-OM and by using the coupon code SHR10. And if you order it and it's not everything that you thought it would be, they will give you 100% of your money back, no questions asked. So if you want to protect yourself from whatever bug is floating around this year and take your digestion to a new level, visit shrnetwork.biz/P3-OM and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off today. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that, do this, avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Inside Tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. Have you been struggling to achieve results in the gym? Trouble sleeping through the night? Overwhelmed with stress or anxiety? Look no further than Infinywell supplements. They have designed products to address specific needs like muscle growth, hormone balance, sleep, and anxiety from the first use. Infinywell helps you live well. Go to shrnetwork.biz/bewell. That's BEWELL well and use code SHR20 and start living well today. Redcon One's new BAR bar is the ultimate soft-baked protein-packed snack bar, powered by peanut butter. Perfect for while on the go to help curb hunger or sneaky sweet tooth cravings. With 20 grams of protein, use as a meal replacement bar or when you're in need of a high-protein snack. Eat a Redcon One bar as a midday snack or for fuel before an intense training session. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Redcon1 and use the code SHR25 and save 25% off these delicious bars today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Welcome back. Please feel free to post your questions, and we will get to them. You can post them right here wherever you're watching the show, on Facebook or YouTube. No question is off topic. Seriously, whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. The next question comes from Dennis Condry. He says, I heard about testosterone on Joe Rogan's podcast. My question is about delivery systems. I'm deciding between cyclodextrin, fulvic acid, and something called Amber Boost. Which works best? Amber Boost sounds a little scammy to me already. So what is Amber Boost?
Well, I'll get into that. But look, the long story short is none of the delivery systems that he just mentioned work any better than the other. They're all just marketing, in my opinion. And even if they did, the real problem is the parent
getting real testosterone.
Yeah, the real problem is the parent compound itself.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
So I've answered this question before, but the fact that it's actually testosterone hysteria has reached the Joe Rogan podcast, something needs to be done. So I'm gonna give you in great detail how ridiculous the whole thing is. I have seen this cycle repeat over and over for the past 20 years. The story always has the same ending. People spend a lot of money to find out it's just not worth it. When it comes to bodybuilding applications, testosterone almost always comes up short. So the cycle usually goes something like this. Some new guru digs up one paper in particular about this issue, Practical Uses for Steroids in Mammals, Including Humans, an update, published way back in 2001. LaFont being one of the authors. All of the hype, and this is what's significant, all of the hype boils down to a single sentence in that paper, which reads as follows. Recent structure activity studies, as measured by stimulation of leucine incorporation into proteins, showed that among the compounds tested, testosterone was the most active, followed by cyasterone and 20-hydroxyecdysterone, which they refer to as 20E. The paper and that line in particular is misleading. It's misleading for a number of reasons. One, the Turk/leucine findings were never reproduced anywhere else ever again. And number two, for all we know, leucine incorporation at the rate that they're talking about could come at the expense of the other, it could come at the expense of the other essential amino acids. And number three, and this is the big one, right? They were studying the pharmacodynamics of various ecdysteroids and Neurobol in rats with experimental renal damage. All right. Incredibly, people are still trying to convince themselves and you that these findings are applicable to healthy human beings involved in strength training. They aren't. And anybody that's telling you so is lying to you. Now, the guy on Joe Rogan's podcast who mentioned Turk, he actually compared it to DECA, and his name is Andrew Huberman, who is a quote-unquote renowned neuroscientist. That may very well be the case. I don't know him. It's the first
In
time
my
I've
experience, when people start comparing things to DECA, it's bullshit.
Well, what's interesting is he quickly followed that initial praise with, I've never tried it.
I've never tried DECA. I've never tried testosterone.
Take it from somebody who has. Turk works nothing like DECA or any other steroid for that matter. I know, not because I heard it or I read it, but because over the past 15 years, I've used more turkesterone than most people can possibly imagine, more than I care to admit. And the material I got always came from ICPS, the Institute of Chemistry and Plant Sciences in Uzbekistan, which is the place where you get genuine turkesterone. It doesn't do anything noticeable, but it's expensive as hell. In fact, some jokers are selling it today for it's like $1 a pill or more online, which is an outrageous amount. Mark my words. I may not get millions of views on YouTube. I may not have been a guest on Joe Rogan, but I will happily be the one guy that's going to give it to you straight right now. Turk is a waste of money because
And
it's
look, and
true.
look, and look, you're talking about this, and Horned Frog, who's watching on YouTube, said Turk is worthless. I
Yeah.
spent fistfuls of money on it in the past. I hoped it would work. Very disappointed. He
Yeah.
said the best bet is the Ecti that's in Synthogen.
And that was me too. And the reason I'm telling you that is I just hope you don't have to pay the Turk tax that everybody else has to find out the stuff is junk. 10 years from today, let's just say this. We'll see. 10 years from today, let's just see if I was right, okay? I already know the answer, and it's probably only going to take one or two for this generation of kids, men, whatever you want to call them, to learn that hard lesson. At this point, I feel like going on Rogan's show to correct this injustice, but it seems destined to happen every 10 years or so. If you stick around long
People
enough,
forget. You're right. The people are very myopic. They forget.
you stick around long enough in this business, that's exactly what you'll see. So the question becomes, why does it keep happening? There's one guy in particular on YouTube that's pushing this right now. His name is Derek, I think, Plates and Dates or something like that. I honestly don't think he's trying to scam people. He just believes too much of what he reads in the studies and lacks enough practical real world use to know that it's a scam. And now, to be fair, it's an easy mistake to make. And this is true for 20-hydroxyectosterone too, because it's all over the literature. Both of them look great in the research, especially Turk. In the real world, both are far inferior to full spectrum Raponticum carthamoids. And it's not hard to understand why. Full spectrum Raponticum contains dozens of different ecdysterones, including Turk and 20-hydroxysterone. And in particular, a grouping of between 10 to 12 ecdysteroids, depending upon whose literature you read, referred to as the leucines complex, which, along with various other tannins, resins, and antioxidants in the plant, are responsible for its biological activity. Turk is from an entirely different plant, the Juga turkestanica, which contains just 3 primary ecdysterones, that being Turk, cyasterone, and 20-hydroxy. That's 3 versus dozens in Raponticum, and more, by the way, being discovered every year. More ecdysterones are still being discovered in that plant. If you are hell-bent on using ecdy, then I would use any day of the week full spectrum Raponticum, and twice on Saturday and Sunday. The story on that is different, and it usually has a much happier ending for consumers. The story goes way back. There were these Russian farmers that noticed that the deer that were eating this stuff before the harsh Siberian winters, a lot more of them survived than the ones that didn't eat the stuff. Okay. Marrow, incidentally, the Russian word for deer is marrow. So you'll sometimes see it referred to as marrow root. Same thing as Raponticum, just a different name. Anyway, those farmers started to use it themselves, and they noted it helped them bounce back much faster from cold, sickness, and improve their ability to tolerate long days in the field. Eventually, the Russian military got involved, given that they were looking at the time for compounds that helped soldiers in World War II survive extreme conditions like hunger, cold, and lack of sleep. And so after analyzing the plant, they came to the determination that ecdysteroids or ecdysterones were the real actives. And in 1961, it officially became a medication in Russian pharmacopoeia known as Ecdystin. On the other hand, turkesterone never was, despite the fact it was first discovered almost 50 years ago, 1975 to be exact. What does that tell you? Back to the Russian medication Ecdystin. It was prescribed for recovery from illness, sickness, burns, and to treat fatigue and general tonic. It was given to every Soviet cosmonaut that went up. I don't know if it still is, but it was. It also was given to increase resistance to disease and other environmental stressors. You use a quality version between 500 and 1,000 milligrams a day, you're going to notice, or should notice, much better recovery, a slight bump in VO2 max, your cardio will be better, or conditioning, and in general, the ability to handle greater workloads and bounce back faster. Okay. Anyway, I would suggest avoiding testosterone. Don't get sopped like I have been and other people, as evidenced by the comments, especially if you're new to ecdysterone. It seems inevitable, though, for the curious about the compound. You're probably going to wind up having to pay that testosterone tax only to find out it does little to nothing. So for the money, then, it's not worth it. Look into Roponticum.
You know, and the other thing that I have a real problem with is for decades now, scammy supplements have always been compared to real anabolic steroids. You know, would you go out to buy a car, and the guy at the Yugo car dealership, remember the Yugo from Yugoslavia?
Oh yeah.
Says, yeah, the Yugo is just like a Ferrari. Would you buy that car? You look at it, you go, it's not a Ferrari. How could it be like a Ferrari? Why would you compare it to a Ferrari? If I want a Ferrari, I'm going to buy a Ferrari. Okay, some of us can't afford Ferraris, right? But everybody could afford a bottle of Deca. Everybody can afford a bottle of testosterone. I mean, they're $55 online. You can buy them. I'm going to give you a gift right now.
And they're making a handsome profit at that.
Google Juice Pal, JUICEPAL. It's a website in Japan that has the best prices on the best juice in the world, and like $55 for a vial, 10 milliliter, 250 milligrams in grapeseed oil. Beautiful, no sting, no bumps on your legs, nothing. And they mass spec. They put their mass spec on the website of everything that they do.
Wow.
There you go. I just gave you a Christmas gift. Like, look, stop effing around with supplements that are like Deca and get yourself some friggin' Deca and use it and grow and get strong and see what it feels like. And make sure you buy some post-cycle therapy stuff like clomiphene and HCG and maybe an aromatase inhibitor and bounce back quickly and keep those gains. Let's stop this nonsense. Why would you want to buy a Yugo in hopes that it makes you feel like you're driving a Ferrari?
Yeah, well, they know a lot of kids, I think, out there don't necessarily want to break the law, right? So they want to believe. This is the other thing. There are a lot of people that want to believe there's something out there that works like Deca. It doesn't. It's got a great packaging. It's got a great story on the delivery system. It's got a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement around it. So you're going to see some placebo effects going on for the first couple months.
Yeah, you're going to swear you're getting stronger.
You're going to swear you're getting stronger. And then one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, duped again. How did I fall for this?
Because people don't remember the first time it came out, and the second time it came out, the third time it came out, and the fourth time it came out, because there's years in between that. It disappears. I never heard of this before. Well, if you were 5 years older, you would have.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing to consider is that anything that really works, the government adds to the anabolic steroid list right away. Look what happened to Superdrol, Super DMZ. I mean, that's the whole Blackstone Labs lawsuit is because the government said they continued to sell Super DMZ after it was added to the list.
People need to understand, when the law changed most recently, the crime didn't necessarily become testosterone bad. The crime now is the compound builds muscle like testosterone.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Anything that really builds muscle, you have to break the law to get.
And they will quickly remove it from the market.
They add it right to the list. It's like, hey, add this to the list, this sentence. Okay.
Yep.
Now everybody's breaking the law.
Yep. That's how they've structured the legislation, to make it very easy to add the next thing to the list.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day. Please post questions. We'll get them in if you have any other questions. Otherwise, sit tight. We'll bring you some more of the greatest show on earth. That's right. We're better than Joe Rogan. Come on. I may not have his audience and be as popular and handsome as him, but we're smarter. Stay tuned.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHK-Cu, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expression of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restora Cell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contains potent formulations of blue copper peptides and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. Remodel your skin today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code superhuman to save 10% off your entire first order. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is My Pillow. I've been sleeping with My Pillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have My Pillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/mypillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
We have a new sponsor coming on in January, but I had to talk about them today. Their spot isn't in rotation yet, but it's called Magic Mind. So let me tell you how they came to be a sponsor. I've been trying to give up coffee for years. Those of you who've listened to my show know that I have had a terrible relationship with coffee. It destroys my stomach. It destroyed my stomach. And it actually, by destroying my stomach, caused other secondary issues, which I am now recovering from slowly, but I'm recovering because I haven't had a cup of coffee in close to 2 months now. So when Dan Kapitsky was still working with Supreme Radio, he had them send me a box, and it's touted as a nootropic, a productivity supplement, and it is that. There's no doubt about it. It's the first nootropic I've ever been able to say I actually felt it working. My brain was sharper. I was able to recall stuff faster. Because for those of you who listened to the show the past couple months, I started to forget things. Like the other day, I couldn't think of brain-derived nootropic factor. Elisa had to post it on the show when I said, BDNF, a brain. And this stuff changed everything for me. I don't need coffee at all anymore. I don't have coffee. I don't crave coffee. I don't want coffee. And this has virtually zero caffeine in it. It's a combination of nootropics and also a little bit of green tea, matcha tea. It has a variety of different compounds, ashwagandha, but all in specific ratios. All I can tell you is this. It works. And we have a special offer that we're going to do it now. I'm going to promote it now, but this is supposed to start in January. Right now, you could save 20% off your Magic Mind by going to shrnetwork.biz/magicmind, all one word. They say one shot lasts 7 hours. To me, it lasts more than 7 hours. You will feel it. You will feel it. And the guy who invented this, he is a former Silicon Valley super genius who was drinking pots and pots of coffee every day because, he's involved in these high-tech projects and he's got to be with it every second of the day. And like me, the coffee destroyed his gut and actually sent him to the hospital with a heart attack. True story. And he thought, I need something. I can't just say, okay, I'm done being this genius in Silicon Valley. So he started doing the research and he came up with the concoction that is known as Magic Mind. If you really want to try something that you feel like within minutes of taking it, one shot down. It tastes good too, by the way. Has like a citrusy flavor to it. It's got adaptogens in it. It works. This is the bottom line. I can list all the stuff in it and I can tell you about what it works. I have tried every quote unquote nootropic from back in the day too. Phenylparacetam, sitcholine. I don't feel any of them. This is the first one I felt. In fact, Dan and Natalie drove from North Carolina to Arizona in 19 hours. Dan took one of these and he said he was on the whole time he drove there.
That's a product that the country needs.
Oh yeah. And I can go to sleep. It doesn't interrupt my sleep. It doesn't change my sleep. It's not like the coffee or the caffeine or any of the pre-workouts or the, any of the stuff that I was drinking before. This is the real deal. If you have a relationship with coffee that is destroying you, get yourself some Magic Mind. Again, shrnetwork.biz/magicmind. You'll save 20% off using the code SHR. Or if you finally want to try a nootropic that actually does what it's promised to do, it's Magic Mind. Check it out, please. And tell me, I want to hear your Magic Mind story. Like Dan's, driving 19 hours straight through from North Carolina to Arizona. I want to hear you, because I'm telling you something. You're going to try this stuff, and all of a sudden, your brain is just going to start functioning better. Try it. Try it. Okay. So we now have the blueprint tip of the day. What is the blueprint tip of the day, Rob?
Well, the tip of the day is ethics and morals in sports nutrition. What is really at stake? So the Joe Rogan testosterone thing, that really got me thinking about whether or not people care about ethics and morals in our business. Now, to me, these are very, black and white issues about right and wrong. There's not much gray area here. You're either lying to consumers or you're telling them the truth. And on that topic, I've made a lot of mistakes in life, some big ones, mistakes that I would do anything to go back and rectify. One mistake I've never made, though, is I have never, ever lied to anyone about what my products do, what they don't do, nor have I lied about what other companies' products do either. Yes, it's my opinion, but it's an opinion anchored in almost 40 years of strength training and the supplement market. So take that for what it's worth. It frustrates me to see this business is filled with liars, and even sadder, there's no shortage of people that actually want to be lied to. Let me tell you why that matters. We all like supplements, right? I mean, 9 out of 10 questions I get is about supplements. They help in our efforts to get bigger, stronger, and faster, or so the ads proclaim. But let's be honest, since creatine really was brought to market in 93, little to nothing from supplement companies has really worked. The original pro hormones did, absolutely. But of course, those got banned. And so now think about that. For the last 30 years, almost nothing with noticeable effects has been brought to the market. And why? Because it takes lots of money and lots of time and work to innovate. Believe me, I know this whole Synthogen thing took 2 years just to get the amino acid ratios. And that's what, 9 of 16 different ingredients in it. What that means is 3 generations of kids grew up in the sports nutrition business, offering them almost nothing. And yet, many of these companies that do lie to them still make record profits. It drives me nuts. The only thing that honestly keeps a lot of people in the market is this: hope. Hope that the next creatine is just right around the corner, right? Hope isn't a strategy, though. You've heard me say this a million times. Hope isn't a game plan. Hope doesn't cut it. For the long term, you need something different. So let's talk about a real plan, one with more than just hope, right, at the wheel to make it work. I talked before about the Blueprint Bulletin and the information in there, much of which is on nutritional supplements and peptides and other things. I have made it this time around as close to damn near free as I possibly could. You're talking about an extensive library, over 110 issues, 440 some odd topics, right? Here's the thing, especially when it gets to supplements. This is why I want people to consider the source, right? Me as the source of information. 99% of the supplements that I recommend are not mine. And believe me, I've found some real gems over the years. And know this, I am beholden to no one, which means this: I accept no advertising. Okay? If a company's product sucks, I'll say so. If it works, I'll also say so. And that kind of candor in this business is almost non-existent. I want you to look for it. I want you to look for non-vested sources of information that give you the straight scoop on things like terkesterone, because as we saw in both my comments and the audience comments, people are spending fortunes to learn the hard way these things don't work. So look, here's the thing: as we get closer to 1/1, you need to make a decision. What's it going to be? Is it going to be taking this road less traveled that I just described for almost free, or is it going to be more of the same? I hope you take that road less traveled, because it's never been easier, it's never been more inexpensive, and it only happens once a year. And you can decide for yourself after looking at a free sample issue or what's in the library, as to say, you know what, he wasn't kidding. He was telling me the truth about this. There's a lot of information here that's going to save me money, and more importantly, time. That is time that I am still angry that I lost when I was younger. At the end of the day, I am still the same kid who at 15 years old walked into his first health food store with dreams of one day being right big and strong, only to discover this world of broken promises that we live in. But I ultimately did something about it. I did that for me. I did that for you. And I did it for all the people, whoever it is that comes after us, way after I'm gone. And I hope you will join me in that journey, that education, ongoing education. Head over to coachrobregish.com. Check it out. Happens only once a year. Best offer I can give. I don't know what else to say. I wish this was around when I was younger. If it was, I would have saved a ton of money. Yes, who knows how much? A lot more than I care to admit, right? And I'm certainly not the
Well,
only.
but there's something more important at stake here.
Time.
No, progress.
Well,
Like
progress I
people
could have
would
been
think,
making. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you could have made more progress faster instead of wasting your time hoping that this supplement was going to change things for you, hoping that this style of training was going to be the answer. You know, we all want the most efficient, most effective way to build muscle and build strength. We don't want to waste our time. We want results. Everybody wants results. And when you invest in a supplement because some guy on Joe Rogan said it's as good as DECA, which, by the way, just for the record, DECA is not that fucking good.
Right. And he's never used it.
Well, but I mean, DECA has a non-androgenic, almost as anabolic as testosterone, almost as anabolic as testosterone. Think about that. Like it's like, who came in second in the Olympics? Name somebody who came in second.
Nobody remembers.
Anybody. Can't remember them, right? But it's like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a great runner. I'm almost as good as that guy who came in second in the Olympics." Like, don't you want to be as good as the person who came in first? Like, why do people keep comparing stuff to DECA? DECA is something you stack with other drugs.
Yeah, and the problem is the example of what we just discussed, testosterone, stay away from it. It's getting a lot of play right now. Don't buy into it. You're talking about one of hundreds, if not thousands of products out there that are begging for your dollars. And so the question becomes, where am I going to learn about which ones are really, truly useful? And frankly, you go anywhere you want on the web. Almost every single person has an agenda, or they're selling the stuff.
Well, and they pander to a certain group of people that chances are you are not. But they pander
Right. Our
to,
audience is different.
yeah, they pander to lazy people.
Yeah.
There's something on Instagram and on YouTube right now that pops up every now and again that says, you don't need you can build muscle without the gym. And I'm sure it's selling a supplement. Or maybe it's selling a home workout. I just pass it up. They're pandering to people who don't want to do the work. It's like saying to you, you could be Elon Musk and not have to study anything or learn anything. Tomorrow morning, you could wake up. You'd say to me, that's bullshit, Carl. You can't do that. Yeah. No, you're right. Don't be fooled. When people start comparing their supplements to anabolic steroids, run. Or just buy yourself some anabolic steroids if that's what you want. I mean, shit, I've done everything. I've done, and a lot of them I did at the same time. I didn't know which one was causing me to be big and strong. Mm. But it's like, just do the steroids. Stop buying the Yugo thinking it's a Ferrari. Don't do it.
I'm grateful for the fact that our audience is different. We have a very educated audience who comes here every week to learn. And that's really the same model that I'm proposing, just on a monthly basis instead of weekly. And I go in some different directions than you do in terms of guests and products, but that it needs to be an ongoing process. Education, learning, it needs to go on from 15 to 51 to be, all the way along. If you are not consistently learning, especially in this business, you will find very quickly that your your progress comes to a screeching halt.
Mm-hmm.
It honestly does. Every breakthrough that I've ever had in terms of adding muscle, in terms of getting stronger or ditching fat, has come from an information source. Never came from a bottle. Even if it did, it wouldn't last. The bottles, you're out of pills in 30 days in most cases. Here, you're going to have this information serving you for life, and it just keeps paying dividends down the line.
So there you go.
So
There's no
that's it.
replacement for hard work. There's no replacement for strict dieting. There's no replacement for fixing your sleep. There's no replacement for these things. So stop searching and just get on the job and do what you got to do. That's it.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
buy yourself a bottle of Deca if you want something that feels like Deca.
Yeah.
Really, it's cheap.
Put it in if you feel better, put it in a bottle of turkesterone.
Yeah. Put turkesterone on it with a magic marker and tell everybody, oh, it's turkesterone. It's just like Deca. Oh, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of every time I hear somebody compare a supplement to a drug, I just think, who are the fools that are falling for this?
It's the muscle growth too that he compared it to. I mean, there are some things that Deca does, like its recuperative ability, that can be
joint lubrication. Yeah, joint lubrication. Yeah,
some of those things can be approached by some of the legal stuff that's on the market. But when you're positioning it as an anabolic steroid that does everything that anabolic steroid does, including grow new muscle, no, that's a disingenuous position to take.
We have a question. I missed it. Let's answer this real quick. So Cola Quench is on YouTube, says, what's your guys' thoughts on Tomcat Alley? I'll let you go first.
As far as Tomcat goes, recently you've seen some more new research come out pointing to the fact that it may raise testosterone levels in individuals. I can't recall the age group, but we're not talking about going from 300 to 1500, which is the physiological level, the numbers you need to hit in order to hit the I'm going to grow muscle faster land that you want to be in. It's not going to move the needle to go from 300 to 600, even 700. Having said that, it's not the worst thing I suppose you could spend your money on. I would just tell you, if you really think you're in need of a testosterone increase, get on testosterone.
So we have some comments. Richard Amelli says, great, no BS info.
Yeah.
And Cola Quench came back and said, I thought I'd seen it usually doesn't raise T, but it energizes. So wondering what it does do. So what it does do, what it's been shown in research to do, is cause sensitivity and increased weight of the prostate and I think it's pronounced vestibular glands and tubes.
Mm-hmm.
So it stimulates libido because it makes your penis tingle, because anything that affects your prostate, you feel it in the tip of your penis. And so what it's been shown to do in rodents was increase the overall weight of that gland and the plumbing to the gland, which would indicate to me that it causes some sort of sensitivity and makes you horny. And that's the best. That's the best review I can give it. I wouldn't bother with it. It's garbage.
Yeah.
You know what? And who knows what long-term use is, and who knows the quality that you're getting, and who knows if it's contaminated with something, and who knows. Come on. If it doesn't raise testosterone, and the truth is, even some of the most powerful over-the-counter aromatase inhibitors that were available back in the 90s, we were very fortunate. They only raised free testosterone dramatically. They raised total testosterone too, but nothing dramatic. It wasn't like if you had 400, it took you to 1,000, 1,500. It took you to maybe 800.
Yeah, right.
Right. Again, it's not what it appears to be.
I've always told people, it's like Tribulus. If you get an aphrodisiac-like effect, fantastic.
Yeah, there you go. Be happy.
Don't
worry about if it's raising testosterone or not.
Right. Yeah. If it improves your quality of life, you feel better on any level. Sure, take it. but just don't count on it to build muscle like testosterone does.
Yeah,
Super physiological levels.
All right, so we are off. We won't have another Blueprint Power Hour till the new year. So happy New Year, Coach.
Yeah, thank you. You too, and everyone out there listening. Thank you.
And don't forget one thing. It doesn't mean anything. The new year, the old year, the transition to the new year.
Right.
We just keep doing the same thing that we do. Good sleep, grind in the gym, eat plenty of protein. You know what I mean?
It's who we are and it's what we do. It's not a New Year's resolution type thing.
I know somebody asked me if I had any New Year's resolutions. I says, yeah, to keep doing what I've been doing for the past 20 years.
Exactly.
New Year's resolution. I'm 63 years old, and granted, I don't have the strength that I did before 2019, before the 2 foot surgeries, before the torn hamstring, before the other torn hamstring, before the detached tricep.
Oof.
But I'm still in there, man, and I'm still pushing heavy weight for me.
God bless you.
I got to keep doing. All right, Happy New Year, everybody, and we'll be back next year with a Blueprint Power Hour. Tomorrow, I have a great show on intimacy for those of you who are lovers in the house, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, Rob.
Great, thanks. You too.